So this is the Mickey Mouse book, and this came out in 1930. So this was the first actual, it's not a comic book per se, but it's the first appearance ever in a physical form of Mickey Mouse. Like Bryan mentioned, Mickey Mouse first appeared in Steamboat Willie in 1928. So 2 years later, they made this book, and basically they made this book. It was by a publisher called Bebo and Lang, and it was written. The story was actually written by one of the publishers, Bebo's 11-year-old daughter, and her name was Bobette Bebo. Sounds like a made-up tongue twister name.
Yes.
But the reason they made this, basically, they were trying to raise money to, create a new film studio. So the way that this was disseminated to the public, they would hold, like in the theaters, in the movie theaters, they would hold these little like Mickey Mouse, I guess like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse type of events, and all the members would actually get one of these, before they left. I know that they were also for sale certain places as well, but that was the main way to get it. The other thing that's kind of interesting about this is actually the first licensed Disney publication. It contained like a story of Mickey Mouse. It had a game in there. It also had a Mickey Mouse song called "You Cute Little Feller." And there's, I believe
you said what? They got a song called what?
Cute Little Feller.
Or fella.
Like fella, yeah.
Yeah.
Carry on.
So I think there's, as far as I could tell, I believe there's 4 printings of this book. And the first printing, I guess, for the 1930s was considered controversial because it had the language "kill him" in there, referring to the big bad villain. So that actually, they stopped that book. I don't know if they recalled it, but they stopped it pretty soon, shortly thereafter. And then they had later printings of this book. So if you are kind of out looking for the true first appearance of Mickey Mouse, this is it right here. And I think it's still a pretty slept on book for what it is. I mean, you can find copies just depending on where you're looking, and which printing. You can find them for a couple $1,000. It's not really that bad considering what it is.
Here's one right here, and I don't know if this is the same one, but it sold for $2,000. Maybe it's available. I don't know if it's available.
Yeah, it sold for $3,000. Yeah.
Okay, it sold for $3,000. Is this the same one?
It's the same one. I don't know if that's the first printing or not, because again, you have to open it up and look inside, and if you see that "kill him" language, then it's considered a first printing.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool.
$3,000. That's not bad.
Here's the interesting thing. Like you instantly see stuff like this, little cutout things, and it's even going to be more rare without the cutouts.
One that's completely intact.
Yes, one that's totally intact. Mm-hmm. So that's the type of super rare stuff that I love. All right, next we have where was it? This one right here.
Yes. So this is The Adventures of Mickey Mouse. This is actually the book that I found before the Bebo and Lang book. So this actually came out a year later, 1931. And this was, so I guess, second official appearance of Mickey Mouse. And it was the first appearance of Donald Duck, and the first appearance of, I don't know if you all know this character, but Clarabelle Cow.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Because my kids watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and stuff.
That's her right there.
Yep. And she had a different name. I just don't remember what her name was. But she had a different name in this book.
Her voice is so annoying on Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Clarabelle. I got kids, so it's a whole thing. I know the hot dog song is crazy. My house is the house of the mouse.
Yeah. And I've seen this book. This one doesn't really, you can't really see it has like a green binding. I've seen copies of this like with a red binding and a blue binding and that green binding. I think some of them were rebound and kind of would be considered restored. I'm not really a book collector per se, so I don't really know how that stuff works. But I think the green one is the first one, like the first like unrestored version. But if anybody finds anything different, please correct me. But that's kind of from looking at it. I mean, I was looking at this for a while, like for months and months and months. I had an eBay listing or eBay search for this, and then afterwards the Bebo and Lang book. So I've been looking at these things this is probably like a couple of years now. But I just thought I wanted to talk about it because I don't know if everybody knows about these books, and I thought it was super cool.
Well, and I'm sure people are out there asking, well, what about the first Mickey Mouse comic book? Well, according to CGC, the first Mickey Mouse comic book is this right here, 4-color series 1, number 16 from 1941, classic comic, classic cover. What's going on here, Vinny?
Yeah, so I mean, of course, this is the first comic book. I mean, this is something I also, searched for. I found one at a reasonable price a few years ago. But again, it's dope. It's awesome. It's cool to have the first comic book. But I just like I always tell you and everything else, I wanted to go all the way back to the first. So this is awesome, but this is also 10 years later. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So 11 years later than the first appearance. So but I really love this book. It's amazing. And there's so much history there just with all those Mickey Mouse books. And, I love looking through those things whenever I'm at a con and, just seeing those, all these types of books.
Yeah. And we know a lot about, I mean, we're always talking about 4-color, books and, the Carl Barks stuff. And first Carl Barks is one that always pops in my head. But speaking of Carl Barks, he was famous for his Donald Duck and Scrooge McDuck stuff. Well, what about the first Donald Duck appearance?
Yeah, so this is actually considered the second appearance of Donald Duck, because he did appear in that Adventures of Mickey Mouse book from 1931. This one is from 1935. This one's interesting. It was like print. I actually do have one. I found one ago. It's printed on like this weird like linen type of paper. It's kind of a surprisingly pretty sturdy, rigid book for what it is and for how old it is. But this is kind of a slept on book too. Whitman number 978. It's called. So it's the first cover appearance of Donald Duck and the first solo Donald Duck story. And look how different he looks here.
Yeah.
Like, that he does now.
Yeah, this is cool, you guys. And this is the type of stuff I know people are just going to eat up. This is the type of stuff that I love. Yeah. We all love, doing a little digging and finding out, where these things came from and how they started. And yeah, man, this is awesome.
You knew Vinny was going to have a copy of this shit. He was just waiting. He was just waiting. Yeah. I'm a stun on him tonight. I got a Donald Duck book.
I'm not gonna lie. I have a copy of all these books I talked about.
Wow, that's crazy. But you know what though, Vinny? Yeah, I mean, you're real good about if you telling people to get it, you probably already have it, or you're already looking for it. So that's cool. You're true to form.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. Like I said, I bought these a few years ago, but then when I was really thinking about it, I was like, I haven't seen too many people talk about this. And I remember doing the research and having to look on multiple auction sites to even get the history behind these books. So that's why I wanted to share it. Just, I assume other people are probably interested as well.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, if you go back up, Solo Wookie said something that was very kind of mind blowing. He said, "There's a whole dark Disney and underground pen trading groups. They don't fuck around." So what we got figured out is that Disney groups is that fuck around and find out people.
Well,
like they're going to do it.
He brought up the dark Disney stuff, and that's some of my favorite stuff. And I've got a couple cool books to start off the market report for August 31st, 2022, as we head towards the end of tonight's show. Let's get into some really cool market report stuff. And when it comes to dark Disney, to me, this is one of my all-time favorite, quote-unquote, dark Disney books. This is Air Pirate Funnies #1. It was an underground comic that depicted Mickey flying a drug mule plane. And as you can see, he's got the dope bags on the back of the plane, and he's shooting stuff down. And it's Disney found out about this and instantly put a stop to it and made them stop printing. And these are very, very cool books. I still do not own one. I haven't found one nice enough at the right price. I really want to find one, at a real nice price. But these Air Pirates funnies, I think they did 2 issues of them, but they sell for a lot. This one sold for $135, and I probably would have bought it if I would have seen it before it sold. But that's a very cool one. Another dark Disney book. This is interesting. Mickey at 60 anti-comic number 2. And I don't know much about this. So basically, it's kind of like a political funny thing where Mickey getting old and fat and running for president says, if you liked Reagan, you ain't seen nothing yet. Win with the Mick.
Oh, boy. Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So 1996, I guess this came out, which is interesting. And it's every one of them are signed and numbered. If they could do this back in 1996, they can definitely do it now. Look at that, you guys. So this is really cool. This sold for $75. 4-color. We were talking about 4-color, and this is one of the books that we talked about, I think, a couple weeks ago. The Mickey carrying the double barrel shotgun, right?
Yeah, Mickey got the street sweeper, baby.
Yes, sir. And this one,
you'd never see that now,
No,
ever.
This one sold for $105 on 23 bids. It's not in the greatest condition, but you know what's interesting? Check this out. This one is terrible condition, but it only sold for $23. So, yeah, if you guys want one of these, I think this is a great book to pick up. That's gonna be a ghost.
There's a guy at our we have a quarterly show here in Atlanta, and there's a guy who brings like at least 2 long boxes of these old Disney books, and I try to look through them every time he does a show just to see what's in there.
Yeah. Shout out to Comic Journey. What's going on? This is and recently we've had some really big Mickey books show up. One of the things that I remember that just blew me away is, if you guys remember, Del Auto started doing these variants for Scorpion Comics.
Yep.
And yeah, gorgeous, right?
Yeah,
just beautiful. This is the one that kind of started it all. Disney Comics and Stories number 13 from IDW, and just really, really good Del Auto stuff. And this is Del Auto, right? It is Del Auto.
Yeah.
And he ended up doing a bunch of them. He did like a Donald, the Goofy. Was there any other ones that he did? I can't remember. Anyways, they were numbered. They came with, there's only supposed to be 2,500 of them. They came with COAs. But
other ones, I can't remember what they were, but I think they were along these lines. I just can't remember which one.
Yeah. The next big book that came out was back at D23 a couple years ago.
I remember this book.
Amen, man. This book was huge.
Yes, it was.
And they did a special one that they only gave to employees that was black and white. And I remember back in the day, it was selling for ridiculous amounts. And I think Big Leg and Nick Hart ended up buying one, going in on one, and then like tripling their money within a week. It was one of those books. So really, really cool D23 variant. A lot of people were calling it like the first Mickey and Marvel book, because this was a Marvel book, obviously. Beautiful cover. But yeah, this one recently sold for $370 on 10 bids. Still selling for ridiculous amounts.
Was the version? Remember, there was a one per store version that went to all the comic stores. Was it like a trade dress version? I don't remember on this book.
I thought it was this one. And
so
then
same book.
Yeah, I think it was this one, and then I'm not for sure. We've talked about so many different books that it's just like a new thing comes out and this stuff goes away. But I think the black and white was so I think they gave these out at D23 and they gave out the black and white ones, and maybe these were the one per stores. Let me see what it says here.
These were the one per stores because I remember buying one of these.
Yeah, Marvel Comics 1000. Yep, this is the one per store, I believe. Yeah. So, the comics are all fun and stuff, but you got to remember they put out cards too, and this is an interesting one. The company that did the 90s Marvel cards, Impel, did a Mickey Mouse's World Tour 1000 Hellos card, and I don't know much about it, but this is it. It's PSA graded a 10, and it kind of looks like a postcard, and it sold for $400 on a PSA 10. So low pop. There's only 2 10s out there. That's all great. This is from the 90s. The ones that I love, though, are the old ones from the 30s, and there's lots of them, and this is one of them. This is a cool one. This is R161 Walt Disney Comics Mickey Mouse the Champ. It was a little cutout card. So a lot of those old school Mickey Mouse comics, you'll find the cutouts and stuff. This sold for $108.
Wow.
Really, really cool. Yeah, really, really cool. And here's some of the crazy stuff, card-wise. Now, the reason why I'm showing you the seller is because I found some interesting Disney cards, and I saw the seller sold a ton of them. So I went to go look at his store, at his sold items, and this guy is just right up our alley of the stuff he's selling. Love this stuff. He sold some really rare basketball cards, Kobe Bryant cards. He sold a Mickey Mouse Cobra Commander that's later on in the market report. He sold this gorgeous Destro loose graded card. Just totally up our alley. Boba Fett graded. This is Mattel Masters of the Universe Leech figure. Just a lot of really cool stuff. Well, the coolest stuff that I saw, he sells these old school tobacco cards. Did you guys know that Disney put cards in tobacco packs just like the baseball cards? That's nuts. So you got the Goofy, and they sold so cheap. So let me show you some more.
That is very neat.
Yeah, there's some more here if I can find them. Oh, he's got Nintendo cards. You remember the Nintendo cards? But here's a cool 1936 tobacco card of Walt Disney.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yep. $130 raw. Here are the cigarette cards from the 50s. They're from the 50s. Disney cigarette cards from the 50s. Look how much they sell for.
Bryan, going back to what I was saying, these are clearly marketed towards children.
Yes.
Right.
100%, bro. So were they marketed towards parents giving them to their children? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I don't know. I mean,
it's creepy. And this card right here is super controversial. You know, this little Hiawatha character is major controversial. They did a book where they had to stop selling the book because of this, and then they also did a book. You remember, and we've talked about it on the shows before, where I think Mickey or somebody buys a African tribesman from Africa and has it sent in the mail to him, and like uses it as his personal. It's weird, like as a slave. It's really weird, man. That's dark. This is dark Disney stuff. So be on the lookout. I like the cigarette cards. They're from the 50s. They're not from the 30s, but still, like Vinny said, this would never, ever happen today, especially walking around with guns in them, right? Peg Leg Pete with a gun.